Hey there, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for clicking on the video and welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. I appreciate you. So today we're going to get into Before the 90 Days, Season 6, Episode 6, Dangerous Liaisons. I think it should have been titled, Let's Talk About Sex, Baby, or Bananas and Donuts, or something like that, because it was a very sexually charged episode. A lot of it made me feel uncomfortable a little, and we're going to discuss that. So make sure to let me know what you guys thought about this one, and we're going to get into it. I'm going to start off with Statler. She's our newest cast member. She's 33, from Texas. When we see her, she's foraging in the woods, looking for grubs, and she seems like a silly person. She cracked me up during her intro. I'm sure I can relate to what she said. So, she likes bugs because no one notices them. They're weird, they're unpopular for someone to like. I'm not a huge fan of bugs myself, but I do enjoy weird things, and I've always been very popular. But I don't like bugs, so to each their own. Hakuna Matata and all of that. She says she likes bugs since she was like 5 or 6. She enjoyed playing with them. People thought she was weird while she was growing up, and different and strange. And you all know the secret, right? All the best people are. So she says that she has ADD and she's ADHD, which is ADD with hyperactivity. She explains a little bit about what that is, and she says a lot of people say they have it, but she really, really, really has it. And I can relate to that because there's a lot of words that are popular and like buzzwords, right? Like people call a lot of people narcissists. And to someone who's like survived narcissistic abuse, you know the difference between someone with narcissistic traits and a full-blown narcissist. So I think it bothers everyone when they have something and then people, claim to have it. So we find out she works in the finance department of a freight logistics company, but now she works from home since the pandemic, and she can only focus on work for like 15 minutes at a time, and then she's off like doing laundry, sweeping the floor, whatever it is. She's come to find out through her life that most people don't have patience for her. She's used to rejection. She's been rejected since she was born because she was adopted the day she was born by a family who had 2 sons and wanted a girl. And the only way to ensure having a girl back then was to adopt. So, growing up in this family, or in her family, she never felt like she lived up to the boys. They were like the golden children. They got great grades. They did wonderful in school. And she always did terribly academically and things like that. So she always felt like a disappointment to her parents. And then she felt like an even bigger disappointment coming out as gay to them later. But she realized that she just wants to live her life the way she wants to live it and be happy. So, aside from that, she's dated lots and lots and lots of women. Sometimes multiple in one night. She loved the ladies, they love her. She comes up with like creative first dates, like scavenger hunts, things like that. And she just keeps going on about how she's had lots of sexual experiences, more than the average Jane, one would say. She thinks like sex is really important, but so is love, and she's never had a successful like emotional relationship with love and things like that. She hasn't had great luck in America finding that, so she switched to England. Also, she has a thing for women with English accents. That's what she prefers. So that's what she did. And while doing that, she met this wonderful woman named Dempsey, who is 28, and she's from England. She says she was looking through Dempsey's pictures, and it looked like she just walked out of a special dream. And she messaged her. Dempsey sent a voice message back, and she's sold. They've been together 7 months, and now Statler's going to meet her. She believes that they're going to get married, and this is like her forever person. This is it for her. She is planning to stay there for a couple weeks, and if everything goes well, she's just going to move there. They asked her if Dempsey knows about her plan to move there, and she in fact does not. She thinks it would be weird to ask her to live with her before they meet. And that's probably, a good idea. She realizes it's crazy, but she wants love so bad that she's going to do some crazy things for it. So, in her head, she's ready to move there and spend her life eating fish and chips with Dempsey. It's going to be wonderful. All her eggs are in this basket. She's been waiting her whole life for unconditional love, and she's hoping this is it. So, sometimes I feel like the only unconditional love is actually like between a parent and a child. Maybe I've been burned too many times, but I don't know that I could love like a person unconditionally, because there needs to be like boundaries. Like, I don't know, if you try to hit me with a car, maybe I won't love you anymore. Things like that. So later we catch up with Statler again. She is in the car with her friend Cy. I think they're in a car, or they just meet at the restaurant. Either way, they've been friends for like 3 years. This girl knows all the details of her dating life, and she's bringing her to a better than sex chocolate place. Of course she is. It's a really one note thing here. Feels like. So she's telling her friend that the last month Dempsey has been on vacation in Thailand with her dad. And, they plan on meeting at the airport because they both have flights arriving that day. And she also has never had, intimacy in the airport. So that's even better. Enticing. She can check that off the list. She literally never talks about anything else. It's like maddening. Because it's not like I want to hear that. So, also, I feel like sometimes I recognize things in people, and she's probably been emotionally neglected her whole life. So she uses sex as like a value meter. This is just my opinion. Like, I can get these people, so I'm wanted, I'm attractive, I'm all these things. And it's just something I understand. It's a behavior I've seen. So the friend asked her if they are long distance, do they do like sexting? And she's like, no. Dempsey's the opposite of her because she's kinky AF. A couple episodes, Christian was heterosexual AF. This girl's kinky AF. So that's the theme. She also worries that Dempsey will be boring sexually, and that's not going to be good for her. They sit down, they enjoy their sexual-based desserts. Her friend is like, you need to take things slower this time. And she immediately followed it with, if it goes well, I'm coming back for 2 weeks and I'm going to move there. And then we find out that she has had her heart broken in England before. She was already ready to move there. And then she got dumped because she was moving too quickly. She occasionally still talks to this ex, and the ex did ask to meet her at the airport, said she made a mistake, and all that. But Statler's staying away from that. Her friend has seen her get hurt a lot because she doesn't take time to get to know people first. I can definitely see that. And the ADHD probably doesn't help her because especially they get so hyper, and my oldest son is very ADHD. And when he gets an idea in his head, there's no stopping him, and it's repetitive, and it can be exhausting. So in her head, she wants this love. She wants to move there. Yeah. So she's packing. She's getting ready to leave for her trip. And packing is just hard for her altogether with her ADHD. Like I just said, she's all over the place. Also, I was thinking, why doesn't this girl just move to England on her own? She's ready to go there and, move in with this girl immediately. If it wasn't weird, she would just be moving there. She already got her heart broken once a year ago, and she wanted to move there. If these are her type of women, maybe she should just move there on her own, and then she could date at a normal pace. That's just my thought. But we go back to her packing. She pulls it off. She even packed barf bags. And I've never seen anybody have those in her house. And that is not a bad idea. I might invest in that. I didn't know you could do such things. And she's off in the car and she's excited to see her girlfriend. But she's been in Thailand. They haven't talked a lot. Sometimes they don't even talk for a couple days. And she's insecure. So then all of a sudden she's like, so she's talking about being insecure, and they move over to a clip of a phone call, and she's grilling Dempsey if there's a lot of hot girls in Thailand who are all over her. And Dempsey's like, of course there isn't, At least she says there isn't. And she's super anxious riding to the airport. She gets a message from Dempsey that she might not make her flight from Thailand. It leaves in an hour and a half. She's 2 hours away or something. And Statler just starts kind of freaking out. She's worrying that Dempsey is having second thoughts. But that seems like a pretty normal occurrence to me. But, she's going to power through it, get on the plane, take the chance. And she thinks it's stupid doing this again. Logically it's stupid. But she's letting her heart take the lead on this one. And she's off. And, I think either way we're going to see Dempsey. This is just amping up the drama. Hopefully she makes her plane and they meet up. Otherwise she'll be there a few hours after her. Hopefully. I still think she should just move there. I hope that her story moves off of the hypersexual talking. And I just hope there's more to the story. Even though it's probably going to be a big part of the story because she is not as, her libido is not as high as Statler's. Dempsey's isn't, as far as I know. But we haven't met her yet. I'm excited to meet her. Moving on with people that also made me uncomfortable, but I still like them a lot. David and Sheila. They're waking up after their first night together, after 2 years of waiting. And, his only words he has is, wow. She's like, dude, you sleep good? And he's got a big smile. And then we go to his interview and he's saying, it's their first time starting to be intimate together. It started awkward, but they got in sync pretty quickly. And then he's describing a little trouble they have using the old donut and banana analogy, and how the banana doesn't fit in the donut. And it was definitely a little bit cringy seeing him describe it and then the subtitles. Like, we knew what he meant, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, can't unsee that. He asked her if she liked it, and she's like, no, it was uncomfortable. It's been a long time for her, so it's still painful. And he's like, well, good thing I'm good with my hands. And then she starts getting very graphic about what they did to each other, where they kissed each other. She's asking him how long it's been for him. He says it's been 4 years. She's like, wow, what'd you do for 4 years? We all knew what he did. He took care of himself just like the rest of us. She does say, getting intimate with a deaf person is different because David isn't loud. Her ex used to talk a lot of nonsense. And then, finally a little bit of a subject change. He's asking her if he gets to meet her family today, and she's like, no, we're going to spend the day, alone together, and you can meet up with them tomorrow. And he thinks, things are going good so far. I would say they're going great. Splendid. Fantastic. Especially compared to the other couples we've been seeing. And then he got her a surprise, and it's a box with like flashcards to learn sign language, and she's excited. And they start to practice, and he shows her how to say his name, which was something like, I don't know. I have a crooked pinky, see, so I fell on my bike when I was a kid. We did not have insurance. Anyway, so she didn't know his name had a special sign, and, I didn't know that either. We're going to learn a lot, I think, this season. And David finally is like, here, honey, do you want to see my phone? And she's just overjoyed and ecstatic, but she plays it cool. So they switch phones. He mentions, she told him that she wanted to see that when they met, so he knew it was a thing. He knows that jealousy isn't good, but he doesn't have anything to hide. She does find like a picture and a conversation of a girl, and it was blurred out, but it looked like she was dressed very sexily and in like lingerie. But he says, that's a friend from high school, and his friend, or a friend from school, like I was assuming the deaf school, and a friend of his was asking if she had a boyfriend, because Sheila's like, why are you asking if she has a boyfriend? I don't send photos like that to my old classmates, but what do I know? So that's the answer. She accepts it. She knows she has trust issues. She's trying to trust David, but she just isn't there yet, which I think is a fair thing. Later the day, they're off to the market. It's their first full day together. She wants him to experience and see her culture. First thing David notices is how different the market is there from stuff here. He says it's not so fresh and so clean. And there are animal cuts hanging up everywhere, and they butcher them right there on the table. And I don't think that that's that weird. I think we do that in America. It's just behind the meat case instead of right out there. So she has him try some pork rind type of thing. And they have dried fish and squid, and the dried squid is her favorite. He says markets usually make him hungry, but that one didn't. But, he's enjoying being with her and holding hands and resting his hand on her leg and holding her. And he tells her her town is a nice place. She's like, are you happy we met? And he's like, yes, but I want to talk a lot more. They have a lot to learn about each other. He asks her when her last relationship was, and like she said they broke up because he was cheating on her. And David said that happened to him too. So they kind of, bond over the mutual trauma of being cheated on. Um, he says he was with his ex for 4 years and she knew how to sign. And she's like, well, was it better to communicate with her that way? And like, that's not fair because of course it was. It's probably really hard for him to have all these things he wants to say to Sheila and he can't right away, and vice versa. So, of course, his ex knowing sign language was better for communication. But he says, he doesn't want to tell her about his ex because Sheila's gonna still think that he has feelings for his ex and her jealousy is gonna come out. And he's not sure how to cure Sheila of this jealousy, but hopefully he figures it out. And then he tells her, they're not talking about exes. They're in a new relationship. She just says, yes, honey. I don't know if that means that she's just placating him for now. Jealousy doesn't just go away like that. So hopefully they can figure it out. I have heard rumors that she was pregnant, or is pregnant. And I think she may have looked that way in one of the interviews. But that's all speculation. I don't have any solid evidence of that. But let me know if you guys have heard that. Do you think so? I bet you they're doing great. So let's get away from wholesome yet cringy and move on to some drama. And, I want to talk about Riley and Violet. So Violet decides to call Riley up and tell him he can come meet her children and her mom. And that's great. But it makes it sound like he's on call. Like he's just sitting in his hotel room, waiting, looking at the sky for the bat signal to appear so he can go meet Violet. Then, he says he's excited to meet her family. They've been together 2 years, so he's had some contact with her children in that time. He's not allowed to go meet her right at her home because she wants to meet him somewhere else, but he doesn't know why. So then we meet up with Violet. She tells us she's going to have him get some traditional Vietnamese clothes made because it's a traditional outfit for special occasions. And like later she wants to take him somewhere and he'll need to wear that. So he asks questions and he's like, are they going to make this for me? And she's like, yeah, it's going to be ready in a couple days. She, doesn't tell him much else. So they pick the fabric and the lady's going to measure him. And she's like, is this your husband? And Violet's like, no. And the lady's like, is this your lover? She's like, no. And she's like, we're just getting to know each other. And, Riley is probably happy he didn't hear that because that would hurt his feelings because to everyone he talks to, she's the girlfriend, future fiance. And when she introduces him, she's just getting to know him. But, he's obviously uncomfortable. These ladies are talking up a storm. And every time he talks, she's like, stop talking. I want to talk to her. And then she starts talking crap, under her breath and tells him he can only talk when she allows it. And he's just like, okay, yes, ma'am. Whatever you say, ma'am. Don't hit me again. Or whatever he's saying. So they're measuring him. She's teasing him about the size of his belly as if she didn't know he's a big guy. And I don't even mean fat. He's super tall. He's a big guy. So, of course, his measurements are twice yours. So The girls are measuring him. The lady's like, well, do you think he's lovely? And she's like, no, he's old and ugly. And then she's like, I told her you're old and ugly, ha ha ha. And he just couldn't believe it. And to me, it feels like bullying. So then he goes and sits down and he's like, are we done? Like, he can't believe she would say that. And he asked her again, like, did you really say that to her? And she's like, yeah. And in the interview, she justifies it by saying, in Vietnam, that's how they talk. I can't confirm or deny that, but I wouldn't let a significant other talk to me like that, and I wouldn't talk about them in that way either. That's just disrespectful. You're supposed to love this person. But, Violet thinks Americans are more sensitive than Vietnamese, and even if that's true, or whatever, she doesn't want him to have a sour face meeting her family. Maybe she should stop throwing like lemon juice and salt at him. It stings a little in all them open wounds she's been leaving on his heart, Of course he's a little sour. Like, I can't believe the way she's treating him. I would think she like hated his guts, honestly. So they leave the tailor shop and she gets a message of some guy with his shirt off. Riley tries to see it, ask who it is, She's just like, it's my friend, it's her friend, she doesn't have to tell him, it's her private life. She's getting awfully defensive. Like, I know it's your private life and you have the right to that, but most people would just be like, look, they're asking for whatever. She never, she says she never asked him about texting girls, and, he's like, I don't text girls, especially not shirtless. And, they are in a relationship, so she shouldn't be behaving like this. And she probably has a lot to hide, he thinks. He calls her a liar, and she's like, you always call me a liar. And she doesn't lie, is what she's telling to Riley. She doesn't give him any info. She hasn't this whole time. She hasn't answered one question he has. And she just insults him. I don't know why he's here. So she didn't want to tell him or show him. So he walks away. He's not sharing info with him. He asks straightforward questions. She's giving him nothing. So I smell a private investigator. What about you guys? He's just a phone call away. So she follows him and she's like, why is he mad and jealous? And he's like, I just flew 32 hours for you. I'm really sick of him saying that. Like, he's probably said it 20 times in the 3 days he's been there. Like, you made that choice to fly over there, buddy. So she's like, it's my friend. He's a teacher at my school. I'm trying to hook him up with my girlfriend. And, that's why he sent it to me. And Riley's like, well, then show me. But she won't. And she didn't, because it's her life, and they don't have a right to see each other's phones. He texts a lot of people. She doesn't ask who he's texting because she respects his privacy. And that actually is true. Everyone does have the right to privacy, even from a spouse. Because I heard that in a Dr. Honda video, and it changed my thinking on the subject. So she's like, don't lie. He's like, what about you and your ex-husband? You lied about that, just last June with the embassy. She's like, why did you come here if I'm a liar? And he's like, I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt, but she has all these secrets. And he brings it up again. I came all this way to see you, to see if it would work, and you're not letting that happen. She goes on again explaining how in Vietnam it's different than anywhere else. But there, unless they're married, they don't need to show or share their private life to each other. And like I said, that's fair. I just think it's less of a hassle if that's really what happened, to just show the person and then make them feel bad for questioning you. So she's like, listen, we gotta go meet my family and my mom, so you need to like put on the happiest of faces, and we're gonna mosey on over there and visit my family. So he's gonna put that to the side for now and revisit it later. She's like, smile, be nice to my family. And of course he will. Why wouldn't he? And she's just hoping he keeps himself and his attitude in check, or she's gonna kick him out of dinner. And I believe that. So he's just trying to like be happier and make small talk, and he's like, oh, the door's different than in America. And she's like, you don't have doors in America? Oh, the sass on this one. So she needs to check her attitude, right? Like she wants him to play happy. Like this man could have just left you and you would have had to tell your family why. But he came. He's participating. He's trying to smile and talk to you. But you didn't change anything about your attitude. So he goes in to say hi. They're happy to see him. Especially the dog. The dog gave him more love than Violet has this entire time. So, he's just happy to meet them. And it reminds him why he came there. He wants to see if he can have a family. So, sorry. He brings the daughters gifts, purses, lipsticks, some shoes. They say thank you. And he's just so happy. There's a long, awkward pause. And they go get the food. And they bring it out. And then the mom, Violet's mom, says, it's customary if you want to marry someone that you bring the parents a gift. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm surprised that he didn't bring the mom a gift. Like, naturally, I would do that. Also, Violet is constantly talking about how things are different in Vietnam. And I'm pretty sure that she told him what to buy her daughters. So why didn't she tell him that? Like she kept out that little chestnut. But Riley should have known better. Like at the end of the day, I would have bought the mom a gift. And like I said, Violet should have been like, listen, if you want to marry me, you got to bring my mom a gift. Baby girl Lisa brought a goat. Kim brought a cow. That one guy from Africa bought like a month's supply of groceries. Like, if that's your culture, you need to tell the American person what to do. But it's common sense to bring the mom a gift, especially when you're bringing other people gifts. So, Riley, he doesn't want to eat. He knows hard questions are coming. He's nervous. And boy, were they. He should have been nervous. Because Mama does not play. She's like, my daughter's been dating you. She cries on the phone. You have a hot temper. And, Violet translate badly. And she's like, she wants to know if your hot temper will change. And he just sits there and says, well, I don't like being lied to like her whole family. Basically says she's a liar. The daughter is like, the word liar is very heavy and disrespectful. And then Violet brings up, the photo on her phone earlier and how she wouldn't show him. And he's like, wait. He tried to chime in and she's like, no, let me translate all that I just said for my mom. He tried to talk again. And the mom is like, if it's like this now, it's going to be miserable when you're married. And the mom says Vietnamese women are faithful and not jerks. Has she met her daughter? Because she's kind of a jerk, right? So, Violet's daughter says if they're going to be together, they'll have to believe in each other. He says he's going to try to do that more. But, he's been hurt in the past, and it's hard to trust, but he feels like this is real and that they're going to make it work. And I think he's the only one that feels that way. I think if she does like him, she's so guarded that she'll push him away. But this whole scene with them felt kind of ridiculous. Like, first she tells him to play it cool and don't say anything, but then she tells everyone the whole story. while he's just trying to be nice and not get kicked out. So I think they both should have been having to do that. And she's very like one-sided. Like he had to get off the dating site, but not her. He needs to check his attitude, but not her. So that's a pattern I'm seeing. All right, let's move on to Gino and Jasmine. Jasmine's off to run errands to give Gino some time to miss her, but naturally she lied. She needs some space because she's been having a hard time since he got there. But her having space involves her video calling her ex, Dane, to complain about her relationship and how she doesn't get intimate with Gino. He says, he thought that distance was their issue, but it's obviously not. And she's just like, yeah, I'm glad you're not here so we don't run into each other in the elevator and all that. I really don't think you should talk that deeply to anybody about your intimate problems in a relationship, but especially not your ex. I think that's real inappropriate. But he's saying the obvious. Their issues aren't good, and then we skip over to Jasmine's interview, and she says Gino doesn't know about Dane, or that she's talking to him, or that he's her ex, or that they're still friends. The producer is like, would you let Gino be friends with and talk to an ex? And she's like, no, over my dead body. She says it more sinister. She wants that will for a reason, I'm telling you. So they're like, well, doesn't that make you a hypocrite? And she's like, no, because she's more trustworthy and she can separate friendship and romantic, and she has more maturity than Gino, which is ridiculous to say. She cannot justify this. So on the phone call, she starts filling him in on how Gino went back or brought up a prenup. And he was like, what? And I don't understand why everyone's so shocked. Like, if I had a bunch of money, I would be getting a prenup. But she tells him she got mad, and then Gino apologized and went back on the prenup and said he didn't want to lose her. But she didn't tell him about her blubbering in the restaurant, about how she didn't want to lose him. But the whole incident still left her feeling betrayed. Even though she was going to sign the prenup, no, she just didn't tell Gino that. So I don't know why she feels betrayed. And, now she thinks he doesn't trust her. I wonder why he doesn't trust her. She's on a video call with her ex, talking about how terrible their sex life is. She tells him, Gino calls her pushy, and he laughs, and she's like, why are you laughing? And he sugarcoats the shit out of it by calling her confident, and she knows what she wants. And that's not a bad thing. It's good that she can say what she wants, and she needs to find someone who is also confident. And she deserves someone really incredible. And, this brings actress Jasmine to tears because she needed to hear it sometimes. Sometimes she feels she's not good enough, and she just wants to be loved in a healthy way. In order to be loved in a healthy way, you need to love people in a healthy way. How about that? So hearing her ex telling her how amazing she is makes her really sad, and how she deserves everything makes her sad, because it isn't Gino comforting her. She just said she needed space from Gino to go talk to her ex. She doesn't want him to comfort her. She's not open to that. So he makes a great suggestion about them going to couples therapy, and maybe they can learn, what each other wants more. And she says they need couples therapy. Now, when I heard this, I felt like it was foreshadowing that maybe Gino and Jasmine are going to be on the new 90 Day Fiancé couple therapy type show. I believe it starts in August, and I don't think they've announced any of the cast. But I would not be surprised if they were on there. They definitely fit the criteria, I would say. But just hearing them talk about that made like a light bulb go off for me, which I'm excited for that show, maybe. I'm pretty sure like Ed and Liz would be on there. I don't know if I want to see them. I'm so sick of that guy. And hopefully it'd be like Biniam and Ariella or something because they have an adorable child. I don't know who's going to be on there. Who do you guys think? I'm pretty sure I could count on Ed and Liz. So I don't want to see them so bad. Maybe, Mike and Natalie and Josh. Who knows? Let me know who you think. So, Jasmine wants to fix this. Her biggest fear is coming to the U.S. and being miserable. And she says bye to him, and she calls him baby like 3 times. Bye, baby. Oh, I love you, baby. So, later they're applying like sunblock because Jasmine and Gino are going to go work out. She decides he needs like sunblock on his upper thighs. She brings up his package again, because she's just on a loop. That's all she thinks and talks about. And they're off. And, then we see it's just those two. And of course, I don't know why I thought they were going to a workout class, because Jasmine would never let Gino listen to a workout instructor's orders over hers, and there could possibly be other women there. So they do the workout class. Jasmine is the instructor, obviously. And Gino's just happy they're getting along, so he's going to do whatever she says. They do some hip work and some squats, and she gets behind him while he's squatting, and it feels so creepy. There's literally people at the picnic table in the background, and he is so uncomfortable, and it felt so predatory to me. And I can't imagine if Jasmine was a man treating a woman like this, what people would think, because it grossed me out. And he's like, on one hand, he likes it, and on the other, he prefers not to do it in public. She's always making him uncomfortable sexually, and I feel like that's abusive, but it's not for me to say. It's just my opinion. So she tells him, the next exercise is going to help him with his movement in the bedroom, because he's too robotic. And I will never be able to unhear Gino say, "I'm a wild beast." I'm a wild beast. I don't know how he says it, but that voice, I'll never unhear it. And she's like, "No, baby, you're not a wild beast. Like, we don't even have sex." And he tells her that's because they argue too much. And she's like, "Well, what about when we aren't arguing?" And he's like, "I'll try." And she's like, "Well, what's your fantasies?" She's like willing to march to Mordor and back to get Gino to have sex with her on the regular. He's like, "I told you, all I want you to do is stop arguing with me so much." And she's like, "Oh no, not that. Like, how long do I have to not argue with you before, you give me what I want?" Like, there's a magic number. And he doesn't know the magic number either. And she's like, it's hard because she's trying so hard, and she knows that she's yells, and she's jealous and insecure, but he should love her through all her 10 personalities, right? But she needs to she needs to have some self-control at times. It's not just like, this is how I am, take it or leave it. There's no room for me to improve. That's just the way things are. Like, no, don't be an asshole. Change some things. Be self-aware. Admit you have a fault. Like, be a real person. It's okay. It's okay to be a real person sometimes. So she's like, "Okay, I'll stop arguing with you." As if, people argue by their choice. I've never been in an argument with a significant other that, I was enjoying or I wanted to be in. Or, if we were arguing a lot, I couldn't control that. But apparently Jasmine can. So she's like, we'll stop arguing if we can be intimate more. And that's that. After that, Jasmine's teaching him some dance moves. They're all dressed up. They're getting date night started. And he's finally going to meet Jasmine's girlfriends for the first time. After her talk with Dane, she realized how important her friends' opinions are, so she's introducing Gino to her friends. They go out to dance. They're all having fun. Gino's even dancing with Jasmine's friend, and she's like, hey, Gino's not bad looking for his age. He's not her type, but he might look good from behind. And they're like, did you use the toys we gave you? And Jasmine's like, I haven't told him yet. But she's like, he doesn't know about them. And then she's asking him in front of her friends, like, if he's ever done stuff similar to that with anyone else. And it's like, oh, for the love of God, Gino, say no. Even if that's all you did every day for 2 years, say no. So he says no. And he's like, let's change the subject. And he's asking them how, they met Jasmine. And one's like, oh, we were both cheated on. They had a lot in common. And they're like, did you cheat on Jasmine? He's like, no, and I hope she wouldn't cheat on me. And I don't know why everyone is so convinced that Gino's a cheater. Like, women are falling over themselves to get to Gino, right? So today she was talking to some guy, he says. And he says earlier she was weird and he felt something was off. So then she confessed that she was video chatting Dane. And she's like, ask my friends and they'll tell you. She tells them in Spanish. I could never, she's telling them something in Spanish. And she's like, I could never cheat on Gino, right? 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 And looks at her like, bros before hoes, right? And her friend's like, right, she could never cheat on you. And then Jasmine's like, we're here to dance. And Gino says he never thought she was cheating on him, but now he's suspicious, especially with her hiding this phone call. Then he's talking to her other friend, and he asks her about Jasmine and Dane. She's like, oh, they dated in 2018. And then he realizes, oh, that's right before we started dating. And she's like, yeah, they're still friends. And Gino is like, imagine what Jasmine would do to me if I told her I was friends with my ex. We all know, man. We saw her react to you still having the same paint color. So, yeah, big hypocritical energy from Jasmine this week. He thinks these are red flags. And, wait till he finds out they're all living in the same building. And the friend's like, don't worry, she wants to marry you. He's like, yeah, but she's hiding something and lying to me. He can just feel it in his plums that something's off. And hopefully it's just about them living in the same building. But you never know. And I feel really bad for him when he finds it out because this man does not have the tools to stand up to this woman. So hopefully they are on this couple therapy show because they could use it. This man looks terrified 24/7 and all she does is complain about sex. And I just can't take it anymore. Finally, let's get into Christian and Cleo. He's on the plane, he's drinking, he's having Bloody Marys and bloody noses all the way over the Atlantic. But he's excited to get there and to see Cleo. Cleo's feeding her cats. She's giving them treats. She's like, I'm going to get daddy. I'm just glad these are pets and not kids, she's telling that. She can't believe she's finally meeting him. She checks herself out in the mirror and she's like, I'm serving fish. And apparently that means serving cisgender woman realness. So I learned something new today. Did you? So she heads to the airport and she's nervous. She usually avoids the airport. They're busy, loud, overstimulating. But she brought her stuff to help: her noise canceling headphones, a fidget toy, and her lanyard in case she has a panic attack. These are things she usually brings with her. She's wanting to kiss him at the airport, but she's not going to kiss him first, especially with his recent backpedaling on things. She's worried he won't see her as feminine enough. It scares her, but she's taking this leap of faith. He lands, he's tired, he's ready to meet her. He's nervous about the chemistry. He's a little overwhelmed that she's his first trans girlfriend. I would just like to point out that she is so brave and he is so lucky that she's going to the airport. Like, she knows it's going to be overwhelming. She knows that she might have a panic attack. She knows it's going to be hard for her. But she wants to go there to get the man that she loves. Some people on the show don't even show up at the airport. And she's doing this just for him instead of she could have easily said, get a cab to the Airbnb. I can't handle those crowds. And no one would have blamed her, but she's really like being brave here. And people don't get credit for little things like that. And that's just something I noticed. So, they see each other, they're happy. And at this point, I'm real nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, this is the first time in my life. I'm like, he better kiss her. Like, you better. So, they hug. He grabs her. He kisses her real hard. He's like, hey, babe, it's me. Right? And I'm happy. I'm glad. Like, good. And she's like, she can't believe she's standing next to him. She's like, he's out of my league. And he's just like, wow. And that's it. He's like, wow, that's really sweet of you. Thanks, babe. And like, I get that that's like a big compliment for someone to say to you, but don't agree with her. He could have said something like, oh, I was thinking the same thing. Or no, you're out of my league. Build her confidence. Because the reason that she's probably saying he's out of my league is because she's feeling very insecure and unsafe in the situation. But, he just says that, yeah, wow, thank you. Basically, that's true. And then just silence. He says, the first kiss went good. She has nice lips. She's beautiful. And, he's tired. She's anxious and overwhelmed. So they take off. He hopes things go well. And neither of them ended up broken. He hopes things go well, and neither of them end up brokenhearted. Spoken like a man who knows he's going to break someone's heart. I'm on to you. I live in Minnesota too, and I've encountered many men like this guy. Let's just say. He makes jokes about he's glad they broke away from England because he would hate to drive on that side of the road. She asked him to do a Minnesota accent. I thought his was terrible. He could have been like, oofda, holy don't you know. I'm going to take out the garbage outside and go see the cur. Go to the road. He didn't do any of that. Oofda. That's the best one. He just gets on my nerves because I feel like he's playing games. But she's like, it sounds Canadian. And yes, indeed it does, eh? Canadian, eh? Okay, bud. Minnesotans do their own fake Minnesotan accent, even though we don't have to. So he does say that now that they're in person, he feels a little awkward. And he's like, wow, it's so sweet that you said the out of my league thing. And she's like, yeah, well, it's true, because she doesn't lie. And he knows it was genuine and it was sweet. And I still feel like even the second time, he wasn't like, no, I'm not out of your league. Like, why is he not building her up in any way to make her feel okay at all? So, she feels the same as she did online, but she does feel more pressure since he never dated a trans woman She feels she needs to be more feminine, and that makes her anxious. They get home, they meet the cat. She's like, "Here's Daddy." And he thinks that's a little weird too. He gives them treats. He's like, "Well, I'm not Daddy yet. I can be Uncle Christian." Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Uncle Christian the term for a man who comes over and like bangs your mom occasionally and then leaves? Isn't that where that came up? I think this man got a plan. I see what he did there. But, he's not their daddy till they're married. He's ready to go to bed, so he gets the little tour. He's, talking about how he's been with all kinds of women out there, but not one like this. So he needs to adjust. He wants to establish the connection more before he jumps into intimacy. If this was a normal, like, heterosexual relationship, him saying that would be like a green flag, right? But because she's trans and he was fine with it up until his family found out, it's like a caution flag. And it's like all of a sudden he's acting like he has morals and values and like doesn't want to rush intimacy when 2 episodes ago he was starry-eyed, going through women like tissues Christian, and did not have a problem with that at all. So, I see you. So, he dives into bed. Cleo comes out in her jammies and he's like, "Oh, you look cute." And she's so flattered. Like, "Oh, I'm glad you think that." Like, relieved. Like, she finally got a breadcrumb of acceptance from this man. And, yeah, she's cute. Not beautiful, not gorgeous, not, "Wow, I'm so lucky I got to be with you." Nothing. She's just cute. He told her he's fine dating a trans person, so Cleo has to believe that. She's getting mixed signals, and she's hoping he's, like, attracted to her in person. Like, she doesn't even know that at this point. And I can tell this man is a Gemini because they're very hot and cold and lose interest easy. And I'm really worried for Cleo. And I'm not worried for Christian. Like, I'm not, my heart's not invested in him. I feel like he bit off more than he could chew, and now he's afraid to fess up to that. I think he didn't understand her fully. I think he thought, with the world we live in now, that everyone would just accept his relationship, and his family didn't. So he needs to start being honest. He shouldn't have never told her that he was ready for this, because he didn't know that he was. And he's playing with her heart and her emotions so he can experiment, and I don't think that that's right. So that's how I felt about that. Thank you if you've made it this far. I definitely had to re-record a few things several times. I'm on the struggle bus today, so I appreciate you. Hopefully I'll be getting the other way done soon. I've made it through about the first 10 minutes, and I needed a break. But we'll get into that one in that video. I hope everyone has a great night or day or morning. And make sure to take deep breaths. If you can, put your toes in the grass or the dirt. And spread some kindness and good karma out there in the world. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.